Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Newshour, India's voice to the world. I'm Mark Lynn. Namaskar. Coming up in the next hour, Prime Minister Narendra Modi chairs a high-level meeting at his residence following the stoppage of firing between India and Pakistan. No shelling at the LOC following the agreement. India and Pakistan agree to stop all firing and military action on land, sea and air with effect from 1700 hours IST from Saturday. India's External Affairs Minister says the country has consistently maintained a firm and uncompromising stance against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations and will continue to do so. India and Pakistan have agreed to the stoppage of all firing and military action on land and in the air and on sea on Saturday. According to a statement by the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, the Director General of Military Operations of Pakistan called the Director Generals of Military Operations of India at 15:35 hours IST earlier on Saturday. It was agreed between them that both sides would stop all firing and military action on land and in the air and sea with effect from 1700 hours Indian Standard Time on Saturday. Instructions have been given on both sides to give effect to the understanding. The Director Generals or the Directors General of Military Operations will talk again on the 12th of May at 1200 hours.
The Director General of Military Operations of Pakistan called the Director General of Military Operations of India at 15:35 hours earlier this afternoon. It was agreed between them that both sides would stop all firing and military action on land and in the air and sea with effect from 1700 hours Indian Standard Time today. Instructions have been given on both sides to give effect to this understanding. The Directors General of Military Operations will talk again on the 12th of May at 1200 hours.
And following the agreement, the External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar wrote on X that India and Pakistan have today worked out an understanding on the stoppage of firing and military action. India has consistently maintained a firm and uncompromising stance against terrorism in all its forms and manifestations. It will continue to do so. In a joint press briefing, it was held in New Delhi by the Ministry of External Affairs and the Indian Armed Forces following the recent India-Pakistan ceasefire agreement. Commodore Raghu Nair and Wing Commander Vyomika Singh and Colonel Sophia Qureshi addressed the media to outline the terms of the understanding reached between the two nations. Commodore Nair stated that the Army, Navy and Air Force have been instructed to adhere to the agreement. He emphasized that the ceasefire includes a complete halt of all military activities across land, air and sea.
You're aware there's an understanding that has been reached to stop all military activities at sea, on the air and on the land, and the Indian Navy, Indian Army and the Indian Air Force have been instructed to adhere to this understanding. Since the tragic events at Pahalgam, you're aware that our responses have been measured and very responsible. Details of these have been shared with you over the past few days through our various press briefings.
Well, there is no shelling on the LOC now, and there are no reports of any blasts in Srinagar. The army sources have said that there were no blasts in Srinagar and also that there is no firing along the LOC now. They said that that had happened earlier. And We're going to be joined in a short while by Brigadier Jeevan Raj Purohit to discuss this. Brigadier Raj Purohit will be joining us as a defense expert. And we have been giving you continuous coverage. What we've said is that so far, as per our sources, there have been no blasts in Srinagar. De-escalation has taken place, no blasts in Srinagar as of now. And whatever firing had taken place earlier. In fact, the Foreign Secretary said that the armed forces are maintaining a strong vigil on the situation, and they have given, the armed forces are maintaining a strong vigil and on the situation, and they have given instructions to deal strongly with any instances of repetition of violations on the borders, along the international border, as well as on the line of control.
भारतीय सेना जवाबी कार्रवाई कर रही है और इस सीमा अतिक्रमण से निपट रही है। ये अतिक्रमण अत्यंत ही निंदनीय है और पाकिस्तान इनके लिए जिम्मेदार है। हमारा मानना है कि पाकिस्तान इस स्थिति को ठीक से समझे और इस अतिक्रमण को रोकने के लिए तुरंत उचित कार्रवाई करे। सेना ने इस स्थिति पर कड़ी नजर रखी हुई है और उसे किसी भी अतिक्रमण से निपटने के लिए ठोस और सख्त कदम उठाने के लिए आदेश दे दिए गए। गुड इवनिंग। For the last few hours, there have been repeated violations of the understanding arrived at earlier this evening between the Directors General of Military Operations of India and Pakistan. This is a breach of the understanding arrived at earlier today. The armed forces are giving an adequate and appropriate response to these violations, and we take very, very serious notice of these violations. We call upon Pakistan to take appropriate steps to address these violations and deal with the situation with seriousness and responsibility. The armed forces are maintaining a strong vigil on the situation. They have been given instructions to deal strongly with any instances of a repetition of the violations of the border along the international border as well as the line of control.
Jessica Taneja is joining us with more on that. Jessica, so ceasefire violations continue, as we've heard. Clearly, earlier reports which suggested that the ceasefire had held are untrue. So fill us in with the details.
Well, it was not long ago that we heard from the Foreign Secretary earlier in the evening when he said that the Director General of Military Operations of Pakistan has spoken with his counterpart here in New Delhi, and there was an understanding that was arrived upon. And given that the current circumstances we're in, it was crucial at this point that the two sides were able to come at a point where there would be stopping of all firing, that we've seen in the recent past, not just today, but for about a week now, Mark. But things changed in last few hours here in the national capital as well, in terms of the new developments that have come in, wherein you heard from Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri very briefly there give a statement to the press saying that there have been violations from Pakistan, and this is not what was agreed upon or arrived upon when it comes to that understanding developed between the two. Certainly with the tone and the tenor in which the Foreign Secretary had these words to put out, it did seem to convey that there was a moment there where it seemed to be a little frustrating when it comes to agreements, understandings, and then moving back. It's the same playbook, I guess, that we've seen in the past as well, and it continues to play. So it'll be a crucial night to monitor as to what really happens. And of course, all of us are going to say as to how this now plays out. But for the moment, the kind of violations we're talking about from the Pakistan side have been of concern, and the Indian side says and maintains that there will be an adequate response in case this escalation moves further.
Right, Jessica, we seem to be having some trouble with your audio, so I'll come back to you once you correct that, or once we correct it. We have with us on this special program Brigadier Jeevan Rajpurohit. Brigadier Rajpurohit is joining us. He's a defense expert. Thank you very much, Brigadier Rajpurohit. Now, we've seen that Pakistan seems to be in the habit of violating ceasefires. Why the hell, I mean, that's not the word, language is a bit strong, but why do they enter into a ceasefire if they want to, you know, basically break it?
No, you're very right in using the language. The enemy must be treated in the language that he understands. Only then he will respect what we want him to do. That's point one. Secondly, in case the ceasefire has been accepted, why should at all they misuse the ceasefire opportunity? They should actually use the opportunity to bring peace. Instead of that, by the last time they decided onto this, and within first 2 hours of the last night, that in between 6:30 and 8:30 or so, more than 200 drones fired all across the western border. All across the western border, from Srinagar to Jammu to Punjab, and then the Rajasthan, Barmer and Jaisalmer area. While India was thinking that we will bring peace and things will be sorted out and we shall be fine, the enemy has once again betrayed. So this needs to be sorted out. Right. And sure enough, we have responded very strongly. And about an hour ago, there were reports of an attack or a bomb blast in Bahawalpur itself. The DGMOs have spoken again in the evening. And yes, this week, just before the MEA's conference, the press conference, the DGMO spoke again for rectification of the fault lines on the Pakistani side. And I'm sure after the two speaks now, Major General Abdullah, who's the Director General Military Operations of Pakistan, Major General Kashif Abdullah, and on our side, General Rajiv Ghai is there. So they have spoken, and there is no question of not respecting each other's words.
Yes.
The way the enemy is, if he disrespects our words, then we have no option but to respond very, very strongly. And the two things that I see immediately, that either Pakistan stops now and some peace prevails. But knowing his past records and what I have seen on the borders and line of control in my life, I find that despite speaking to them, despite the press conference, there will be activities at night and he will again intrude. Right. More of drones we need to be prepared with, missiles we need to be prepared with. And therefore, the second option is be ready to act at night. And not only this night, every night till the time they respond. And another input that has come very recently is that Chinese Foreign Minister Yang Wei, he has openly given support to Pakistan. So what is it? Are they emboldened by the Chinese support and are showing that they can do something? I think they're wrongly placed. Right. They need to think about it, that in case they continue with the terror, there can't be friendship.
Right. Indeed. Let me go across to my colleague Jessica Taneja, who's standing by from the, she had just been at that press conference addressed by the Foreign Secretary a short while ago. Jessica, so what exactly has the Foreign Secretary said? I mean, after all, this is a violation now of an agreement that had just been reached a few hours earlier. So what does this, where does this put us?
Well, uncertainty. The word is uncertainty, Mark, because the fact of the matter is whether this was the kind of understanding that was arrived upon earlier this evening. The picture seems to be completely different just few hours, ahead of that. And as we've seen in the recent past as well, ceasefires, and there have been violations many a times when it's been agreed upon. So this was not going to be any different, and perhaps is not surprising to that extent as well. And now with the way the night continues and the events that we're seeing, the way they unfold right now in the border regions will be crucial, because India on its part maintains that Pakistan will receive a response, an adequate response. The military will do, what it is meant to do at this point when it comes to this level of escalation from Pakistan. You've seen repeated violations, and this perhaps coming just a few hours sends a signal that perhaps Pakistan, on the other hand, did not really hold their words or be one when it comes to the kind of understanding that has been reached in the recent past, and that now seems not in the moment, as we say, as you heard the Foreign Secretary just a short while ago. There are sometimes a loss of words on how rapid and fluid the news is, Mark.
Yes,
and as a matter of fact, while we know the picture was completely different a few hours ago, it's completely different right now.
So the Foreign Secretary didn't take any questions.
More on the levels of what Pakistan military does.
The Foreign Secretary didn't take any questions, did he? I mean, one could have. Are there any reasons as to why Pakistan has, broken the ceasefire? Would there have been any information that we have regarding the common, the justifications that they kind of have? After all, they have. This is not the first time that Pakistan is breaking the ceasefire. In fact, they always break the ceasefire.
Which is correct, they always do. So it was no surprise that the ceasefire violations were reported just few hours after agreeing to come to that understanding, where you saw the call that was initiated from the Pakistan Director General of Pakistan's military operations with his counterpart here in India. Now, as we see, of course, there are reports emerging, but it'll take a while to verify as to what's happening on the ground there. But as the night unfolds, it will be crucial to see what further response is, especially India, because it is in fact in the interest of Pakistan to not escalate this war. But if it continues to do so, it serves a different purpose, and perhaps the military and the military and the ISI would continue to do what they have in the past without having any sort of respect for the understanding that is reached now, or even in we don't know what happens in the future though, but the agreement that was reached upon earlier in the day does not hold the understanding. According to the Indian side, is the fact that Pakistan has that repeated violations, and as you pointed out, it's not just the first time that we've seen it today, but in the past instances as well. So now that the night moves ahead, we'll have to wait and see on what the response is, because now it'll all depend on the level of escalation that Pakistan does, and India of course remains prepared to respond to any kind of attacks that Pakistan might be planning right now.
True. Let me turn to our guest, Brigadier Raj Purohit. Brigadier Raj Purohit, so this is being seen then as an escalation, obviously. So India of course is going to resolutely respond. But the point is that what does one require to sort of maintain a ceasefire between when Pakistan is involved? Because they are not a country that is, seem to be bound by anything that they agree to.
True, very true. It's a very, very simple thing to understand. In military, we are trained to obey orders, and then we are trained to lead as well. So when we are trained to obey orders, and the orders come from my highest authority, I must respect and follow it, and so should Pakistan do. Unfortunately, what you had referred earlier, that he has a trend, and we have seen it in the past. He has a habit of violating, whether it was 1993 or later on in 2001, 2005, 2006, it has been going on. And therefore, in order to make him understand the human language requires little more strength. And the person who does not understand the decent language needs to be taught in a different manner. So in case Pakistan accepts, which in any case they accepted, and they had to follow, they did not follow. And then the option left is for us to respond very, very strongly, very adequately. The MEA, Mr. Misri, has very, very categorically said that they must respect this, they must follow this, and they must pass suitable instructions. Now, if for me, I don't see these happening tonight at least. That the two DGMOs talk, and listening to the press conference, they will agree and the ceasefire would stop. I am concerned, and I appreciate that this would go on for the night, and maybe tomorrow another mediation, and may then things cool down for a while.
Right.
And But sure enough, I'm sanguine. I'm responsibly conveying that we need to be very cautious about this enemy of ours. With Chinese support, the things become very serious now. The next options which are left with us are implosions within Pakistan, which are happening by their own deeds. The Balochistan Liberation Army is doing the needful. The Talibans are yet to come in, but with the kind of things going around, they would also keep in. And whatever revolt, the social revolution which is going on in Sindh and Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir, they would fall the Pakistan apart into as many pieces. And therefore, it is in the good of Pakistan that instead of making rhetorics, instead of firing back, we follow a decent path of dharma. You follow your dharma, I follow my dharma, and let's grow peacefully together as good neighbors. And if you don't understand that language, then I'm sorry, you will have to face the consequences, which Pakistan is already facing. Its economy is in shambles, its society is in terrible pain, and Pakistan is ruling the roost. Majority of their influential people with families have already moved out. So you see, what is left is the sufferings with the people of Pakistan. And India is not against the people of Pakistan. They are as simple and innocent as Indians. What is there is the brainwashing them, number one, and number two, the army, which calls the shots. And therefore, this is the one element that needs to be controlled. Who controls it is a matter of concern to the entire globe today, because it's a rogue nation. It is the hub of the terrorism. It accepts this, and yet at the same time it goes around begging. And remember, one more point that I wish to put across is that every time Pakistan has created a crisis, whether it was 1965 war, 71 war, and then Kargil, and then Mumbai attack, and all subsequent attacks, it has begged for loans, and IMF has given them loans. The history tells itself. And this particular loan of $2.3 billion as part of sustenance fund is again part of the same sequence and trend. So it is, I do not know, in case the Trump administration is telling us that they will stop firing, they negotiate to the peace, and on the other side they give them the aid, and then China retorts. So things have to be taken very, very consciously at the geostrategic and geopolitical level, and at the local level we need to be very cautious and careful about the moves that Pakistan is making.
Jessica, you're still with us. No, in fact, Jessica is not with us. But Brigadier Purohit, you were telling us a little bit earlier about the phone call that, China's Foreign Minister Wang Yi has had with Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister. The fact is that, well, this came after the ceasefire had been agreed to. So you're seeing that this probably emboldened them to some extent. But also that President Trump had announced the ceasefire, as part of his, he put it out on social media too, saying that the Americans were involved. Of course, we said that it happened at the DGMO level. But the point is that you're talking about a certain larger game, that's geopolitics, that could be at play here, which has emboldened Pakistan to act and break the ceasefire. Is that something that, we should be looking at?
See, I am saying that's the major concern. I appreciate that this ceasefire is the normal trend that the Pakistan army does every time we talk about ceasefire and there is a violation. And therefore, this violation is, to my appreciation, at the ground level. Their army, they're doing. And maybe for attempting infiltration, attempting other things in mind. So while this is a local action being initiated by the Pakistan army, India cannot afford to keep its eyes off the horizon. And the horizon is what's visible. We continue to need to look into what is visible, and even BVR, as the Indian Air Force calls it, beyond visual range. What is beyond visual range is the game players at the top level, the global levels. Who are they? America, Russia, China. And in case these three play the game well, the control can be there. And you see, the impact was there immediately after Trump gave out his thought process of de-escalation, and then Secretary of State of US, Mr. Marco Rubio, he gave out a call to both the foreign ministers. While Foreign Minister Pakistan, Mr. Ishaq Dar, accepted, and they said yes, all hunky-dory, but it wasn't so on ground. The same thing percolated right down to the DGMO's level, both accepted, and what has happened is violation. So now the things would again climb up the ladder and reach the same level to say, okay, why this chaos? And at this juncture, when the ceasefire was effected, things were planned, a statement from Chinese foreign minister is very important. Earlier, their stance was that we are not party to any one of them. Initially, they had said we support.
Right, indeed they had.
said we are not party to it. While the social media, the information warfare, the psychological warfare, China was all along with Pakistan, and all social media disorder was created by them and the Pakistani media influencers. But at the same time, when you look at the Chinese statement now, you find that they have been with them all along, and this statement is no different. They are showing their support to Pakistan and telling India that, look, you stay away.
Well,
don't call any
indeed.
more shots. So that's not acceptable to us.
Indeed, clearly not acceptable. And this sort of sudden support from China, as you say, has come all along. But, you know, China had actually didn't seem to be supporting Pakistan at the UNSC meeting, when which was called by Pakistan. You know, China seemed to have said that, you know, India had the right to defend itself against terrorism at that point of time. They didn't outrightly come out in support of Pakistan at the time. So it is basically, the concern is now about, with China's support, how much longer will Pakistan have? Because Pakistan earlier, their economy seemed to be in shambles, and analysts had said that they had about 5 days, you know, to basically survive in this kind of confrontation with India. Now, I mean, whatever they seem to be emboldened by, how long will it be before they can reach the next stage where they understand that it's not going to work?
Right, while they did not very openly convey anything in the UNSC meeting, but tacitly they supported even that time. And remember, when the exclusion of the name of the resistance force from the Pahalgam terror attack in the UN was placed, Pakistan was hell-bent to get the name removed, and as a temporary member, they forced this to happen. And if this was to be prevented, rest of the members should have done that. China did not do that. So I find a very clear understanding and a tacit support existing even in the United Nations Council in this particular meeting. Now coming on to how long will it support, I am very sure that it is going to continue to support. There are two different aspects that we need to look into. One is that China is very clear. He says that India is independent to tackle the terrorism. Now, terrorism and Pakistan are two different aspects when it comes to China. But for us, terrorism and Pakistan are two in one.
Exactly, exactly.
The Pakistan has to stop terrorism. It is the birthplace of the terrorism. How can we forget Osama bin Laden? How can we forget Mumbai attack? And all the past that have done, and recent killing of brethren of ours in Pahalgam is absolutely obnoxious. How can we really accept this at all?
Pakistan is
so
trying.
The diversion I am saying
Right.
of China in saying terrorism on one side and saying supporting Pakistan on the other side is the diplomatic game that they're playing at this point
Absolutely.
of time.
They're trying to change the goalposts. Trying to change the goalposts a little bit. I'll come back to you, Brigadier Raj Purohit, but we're going to listen to the Foreign Secretary once again. India's Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri, in fact, called upon Pakistan to take appropriate steps against repeated violations of understanding which was arrived to earlier in the day by the two countries. Let's once again listen to what the Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri had said.
to stop
भारतीय
all
सेना जवाबी कार्रवाई कर रही है और इस सीमा अतिक्रमण से निपट रही है। ये अतिक्रमण अत्यंत ही निंदनीय है और पाकिस्तान इनके लिए जिम्मेदार है। हमारा मानना है कि पाकिस्तान इस स्थिति को ठीक से समझे और इस अतिक्रमण को रोकने के लिए तुरंत उचित कार्रवाई करे। सेना ने इस स्थिति पर कड़ी नजर रखी हुई है और उसे किसी भी अतिक्रमण से निपटने के लिए ठोस और सख्त कदम उठाने के लिए आदेश दे दिए गए। गुड इवनिंग। For the last few hours, there have been repeated violations of the understanding arrived at earlier this evening between the Directors General of Military Operations of India and Pakistan. This is a breach of the understanding arrived at earlier today. The armed forces are giving an adequate and appropriate response to these violations, and we take very, very serious notice of these violations. We call upon Pakistan to take appropriate steps to address these violations and deal with the situation with seriousness and responsibility. The armed forces are maintaining a strong vigil on the situation. They have been given instructions to deal strongly with any instances of a repetition of the violations of the borders along the international border as well as the line of control.
Well, indeed, and the Home Secretary also held a video conference with the Chief Secretaries of all states bordering Pakistan to ensure that all civil defense preparations are completed. And the video conferencing was conducted by the Home Secretary in view of the current situation. And there have been, as the Foreign Secretary has once again informed us, repeated ceasefire violations by Pakistan. And we see that Pakistan seems to have been emboldened after a conversation with the Chinese Foreign Minister that the Deputy Prime Minister of Pakistan had with the Foreign Minister of China. We have with us the guest with us, Brigadier Raj Purohit continues to be with us. Brigadier Raj Purohit, so what will it take then to bring Pakistan once again to ensure that Pakistan abides by ceasefire agreements? Because, I mean, at the end of the day, India has to do this.
Absolutely, absolutely. You're absolutely right. See, if the talk succeeds, nothing like it. We very peacefully, amicably resolves. Our Niti, Chanakya Niti says, Sam, Dam, Bhed, Dand. Dand comes in the end. That's our policy, I think we've been following all along. So Sam, Dam and Bhed are the aspects that we've been struggling, working and trying to get Pakistan on road with us towards progress. But that not being accepted by them, the last option left is Dand. And therefore, what they've done in the evening today, we need to be very strong, very, very cautious and give him befitting reply. In case they do not accept, then tomorrow morning our actions must be activated to put rest of their air defense assets down, put their air force bases down and ensure that Pakistan Air Force is not able to fly and Pakistan itself is not able to rise. And once we do that kind of action, once again, I'm sure China and the international community will come into play. And once they come into play, I'm sure negotiations would again start up. And if they start up, I'm sure they'll come down to terms again. But in any case, we cannot take this as an accepted norm by Pakistan. It is simply violating our own sovereignty, our own respect. And each one of us in India is wanting to take revenge of Pahalgam and rest of previous misadventures by Pakistan. So he must pay for his misadventures.
Indeed. So India, I talked a little earlier about the possibility of, Pakistan trying to change the narrative, change the goalposts with China's support. India is fighting terrorism, and the very purpose of Operation Sindoor was to hit those camps, the terror training facilities, and destroyed 9 of them, trying to finish the terrorist infrastructure and give Pakistan a clear message. And since then, whatever escalation has taken place has happened at Pakistan's behest. They were continuing to escalate. And now ceasefire is reached. And now, I mean, after the ceasefire, whatever's coming in is now sort to be delinked from the Pahalgam attack. They are looking at it from a totally different lens. At least that's the way Pakistan is trying to sell it to China.
That's not acceptable.
Not acceptable. Yes.
You can't de-link Pahalgam with the rest of activities. You can't say because there was a tit for tat and Pahalgam is now de-linked, and because we attacked Bahawalpur, because we attacked 9 of their locations, they attacked 36 of our locations on 8th and 26th, again on 9th, and now they continue to violate and then say, okay, we will accept this. This is ridiculous. The entire sequence of activities have to be accepted. It is not that we are against Pakistan, we are against the terrorism and their occupation of J&K. These 2 aspects they have to definitely bring in, and all along our negotiations with Pakistan and attempts of mediation by n number of countries, we have retained our stance. We have said terror and talks cannot go together. And number 2, J&K that has been captured by Pakistan is an integral part of India, and we must continue to get it. If not today, tomorrow we're going to get it. And to that end, if Pakistan needs to be disintegrated, so be it.
Indeed. So the actions that India took after Pahalgam, I mean, were all linked to Pahalgam, and they continue to be linked to Pahalgam. And whatever actions India takes now will also be a continuation of that, in response to escalations by Pakistan, including the Indus Water Treaty being put in abeyance. That continues. And I mean, Pakistan probably needs to understand that, I think the Foreign Secretary has said it time and again, the original escalation was Pahalgam. And probably, to get China into the game right now, China, after all, initially had said India is justified in fighting terrorism. China also wants to fight terrorism. So we know that the epicenter of terrorism is Pakistan. And China also needs to understand, even though they have 22% of the debt that Pakistan owns, and they have a huge amount of investments in Pakistan, that much of that money was diverted towards supporting terrorism. And if they are true to their fight against terrorism, then that's something they need to also stand by, isn't it?
Absolutely, absolutely very true. China has invested more than almost $50 billion worth in CPEC and other projects in Pakistan. And Pakistan has all along lived on the borrowed debts. What is the growth? What is the industry? What has been indigenous production, so that Pakistan can say that yes, we are independent, we can grow ourselves very well. In fact, whether it is terrorism or the nexus of the drugs or the nexus with the weapons, no, you find Pakistan in all these nefarious activities. So, to my personal appreciation, unless the democratization is complete in Pakistan, the army will keep enjoying the perks that the entire country has, the resources that the entire country has, and Pakistan being ruled, managed and controlled by the Pakistan army is a major rogue issue. It is actually the cancer in Pakistan. To my next appreciation, I would say the kind of situation prevailing and the kind of internal revolts that are going on, Pakistan is heading towards martial law.
Okay.
What I was visualizing within myself, just short of the ceasefire agreement today, I was saying that there are 3 different scenarios. Pakistan heading towards a sure shot martial law, Pakistan and the Pakistan, India, and of course the international community comes in to resolve the issue. 2
Right.
and 3, the imbroglio continues the way it is, and it continues, and stalemate comes in and Pakistan keeps suffering. So, as I understand this, the second scenario of my appreciation has come true today. But has it withstood? It has not been able to sustain even a single night. And therefore, it further gives me a little more input that possibly the route towards martial law is still open, and Pakistan is going to suffer more than what it has already suffered.
Indeed, the Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Dar, had also spoken to a few other foreign leaders. He spoke, of course, to Turkey. They seem to be supporting Pakistan. But the UAE was very clear that, the ceasefire, they were happy that the ceasefire had been agreed. The UAE, Pakistan can't count on the UAE support, perhaps as they thought they could do in the past. Neither Saudi Arabia. Those countries are looking towards other global, objectives, which are largely economically driven. Pakistan seems to be only getting support as things stand from Turkey as well as China. Is that enough for it to be, emboldened? All the other countries are saying, go for the ceasefire, hold the ceasefire, maintain the ceasefire.
See, there was a time when Organization of Islamic Council, OIC, supported Pakistan in big way, and Pakistan was one of the leaders. And even that time it was surviving on the borrowed money. The Middle East, Saudi Arabia, UAE, there was a time when they were in favor of Pakistan, and India still hadn't come on the main stage. Now that India is on the main stage, you find that the rest of the world finds India a very prospective country for investments, for dialogue making, and for growth and glory. Pakistan doesn't possibly seems to be agreeing with this or closing its eyes knowingly, whereas whether it is Saudi Arabia, UAE, Middle East, all the Muslim countries, they've realized the importance of India. India gives them majority of the business. Almost our oil trade with Saudi Arabia is almost 20%. Majority of UAE business with us is in a big way growing. What is not happening is Turkey and India, China and India. That is not going on despite we providing millions to Turkey in terms of tourism. Every year, if you observe the last couple of years trend, every year they are earning billions out of our own Indian tourists in Turkey.
Right.
With respect to China, we have huge trade.
Right.
Huge trade.
Right.
China wants this to grow. Sure enough, another factor that China is worried about is that the differences between America and China on account of trade and tariffs on this, majority of the companies and investment are coming into India. In fact, companies have started making their investment and moves in India. So this is a concern with China, and if India is destabilized, it favors China. So China would attempt to continue to simmer or create bubbles in India. And more the bubbles, all these companies which are coming for investment and profits will stay away from India, and that's a definitely a short loss for all of us. So Turkey and China have got their own typical interest in India, and yet they are supporting Pakistan because of their particular gains, their advantage. Right. And China, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Central Eurasian countries, these are the countries which are strategically very important between the entire Eurasia, Europe, Middle East, and the entire Asia. And therefore, they being strategically located, they do hold that kind of geographical and resource assets. But at the same time, they cannot hold any one country on ransom. And India is the last one to be held by any one of them. We are independent, we are sovereign, we have now started making our moves, and the new Bharat, Viksit Bharat, is surely an independent thinker, making its own moves. When we decided that we will move away from non-alignment, the chances of Russia and America both wooing us, and America saying you come to us and leave Russia. We did not do so. We
Yes.
maintained all the diplomatic channels open. We ensured that our trade grows with everyone, and I think that's the way forward, wherein our growth is short. Some of these pinpricks like Pakistan will put us another 10 years behind. So we
Okay.
need to get
Indeed.
over it possibly faster than Pakistan. And
Right.
fight is not the answer. War, conflict, etc. is not the answer. So better that Pakistan resolves this, and if it continues to pinprick on behalf of China, then it may continue for some more time. But then it will have again ramifications at the global level, and therefore I visualize that the global players will come in to mediate and support the growth and peace over conflict.
Indeed, but you know, the unique thing about our relationship with Pakistan is that it is all our problems are meant to be resolved bilaterally. We don't want any mediation, and we don't invite it either. The problem with Pakistan is it is always wanting mediation by certain quarters that it seems it can control. Now, the issue here is that as India rises, India will automatically, India already has the ability, India always had the ability, but India's ability to defend itself is much stronger now than ever before. And India has the wherewithal to send the message back to Pakistan. Any escalation, you know, you'll be met with the same, I mean, with the fate. This is a zero-sum game for you. You're going to get nowhere in it. But the point is to try and drive that home now. India has to do this on its own, or would you say that India needs to bring the international community to put pressure on Pakistan to maintain the agreements that it has signed? I mean, today is an agreement that is broken within hours.
Yeah, excellent, very well thought. You see, the rest of the world is already with India. Our diplomatic efforts in reaching all the major countries, concerned countries, at the time of Pahalgam and on 7th May after our attacks on all the terrorist camps, we informed the entire world community that this is what we are at and this is what we are doing. And sooner than later, you observe that all those countries started showing support and acceptance towards this decision of India, because India is not going on a war with Pakistan.
Right.
India is going against the terrorist organization,
Right.
and I'm sure the world understands this.
Brigadier
Bless the
Rajpurohit,
Pakistan.
our correspondent is joining us once again on the phone line with some updates. Let me talk to her. Nandita Dagar. So Nandita, you know, I mean, put into context the number of ceasefire violations that Pakistan has made, or in the past as well, or any of the agreements that it signed. I mean, how much sanctity does it hold for anything that it agrees to?
Yes, Pakistan has breached the stoppage or the stopping of shelling, artillery shelling, firing with small arms and medium arms. That this agreement, the agreement that it has reached with India, just around this, which was announced at 6 p.m. today, today Indian Standard Time, that is on Saturday, and it was supposed to come into effect at 1700
hours, yeah.
Indian Standard Time mark. But it seems that for the past few hours, beginning 7:30 to 8 o'clock, the places in Srinagar, Poonch, Rajouri, etc., and especially in Srinagar, are witnessing drone firings as well as some explosions. Also, there has been some news of an attacker on a sentry at a post at the Nagrota military station, where a sentry detected some suspicious movement, and he gave challenge to the terrorist suspicious person who fired on the sentry. The sentry is injured, and there is a hunt on for this suspicious intruder or terrorist who fired this. Also, the army has clarified that there have been no blasts in Srinagar, and the drones that came in were probably, has not made it clear. It is not clear whether they came in before this ceasefire agreement came into effect, that is before 1700 hours or not, but the army says that they came in and these drones have been recalled. So as of now, that is the only clarity we have. But apart from that, we know that our Foreign Secretary, Mr. Vikram Misri, called a press conference just about 25-30 minutes back, and he said that Pakistan has carried out a grievous and grave violation of this agreement which was reached between the two directors general of military operations, who held a telephonic conversation today, and our Indian army is responding to these ceasefire violations, which means that across the LOC, the shelling by Pakistan with heavy caliber and medium caliber weapons and mortars continues, and the Indian army is responding adequately. Also, India has made it clear through our Foreign Secretary's press briefing, which was called much so late in the night, it was unexpected, that the Indian army is free to respond in any way it deems fit with these ceasefire violations. Also, our National Security Advisor, Mr. Ajit Doval, has spoken with the Chinese Foreign Minister, Mr. Wang Yi, and there is a press statement that has been issued by the Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
What does it say, Nandita, if you can fill us in? Because there was an earlier impression that, the Pakistanis had spoken to Wang Yi, and he had assured them of their territorial integrity and national independence being upheld by China. And that had given them the strength to break the ceasefire. I mean, that was one of the interpretations that, is one of the trying to analysis of Pakistan trying to justify its ceasefire violations. Can you put us into, because India has also spoken to China, tell us what has happened with that conversation.
Yes, this conversation happened late at today. I am not sure about the time which it took place, but Wang Yi, who is a very influential member, because he is also a member of the Chinese Communist Party's Central Committee, and he says he actually, as far as diplomatic words are concerned, at least in words, he is saying that China condemns terrorism in all forms, and it also condemns the Pahalgam terrorist attack and all forms of terrorism. But it's also very cryptic, and the statement is actually puzzling, because there is a line in the statement which says that the current international situation is turbulent and intertwined. Now, make of that what you will.
Right.
Peace and stability in the Asian region are hard won and deserve to be cherished. It also says that India and Pakistan are also China's neighbors, and it has urged China and Pakistan to both of India and Pakistan to exercise restraint.
Okay, we leave it there. Thank you very much, Nandita Dagar, for joining us. And Brigadier Raj Purohit, I'm afraid that's all the time we have for in this discussion. Thank you for joining us and helping us to understand. We see that China has, spoken to both India and Pakistan. I mean, or at least, and this seems to be at least supporting India's stand against terrorism. China also supports, the fight against terrorism, but they seem to have given Pakistan some sort of indication that they can support Pakistan in their endeavors too. That's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. But let's know your thoughts on the news of the day. You can always, watch the latest news and updates on DD India's mobile app, which is available on Android and iOS platforms. Thanks very much for watching. Namaskar.